Lyari's dark secret. Who was Rehman Dakait? From political guard to Karachi's most wanted. In the heart of Lyari, where the streets are always alive with noise, struggle, and survival, a name once ruled both fear and respect, Rehman Dakait. His story is not just about crime. It is about power, influence, and the environment that shapes a man. Rehman Dakait was born and raised in Lyari, one of the oldest areas of Karachi. This was a place where opportunities were limited, but challenges were everywhere. For many young boys growing up here, life was less about education and more about survival. Poverty, political tension, and crime were part of daily life. As a child, Rehman grew up watching the reality of power in his surroundings. He saw how influence worked, how fear controlled people, and how respect was often earned not through kindness, but through strength. These early experiences quietly shaped his mindset. Interestingly, Rehman did not begin his journey as a criminal. At one point, he was reportedly connected to political circles and even worked as a guard associated with Benazir Bhutto. This connection gave him exposure to a different side of power, one that came from politics rather than the streets. But somewhere along the way, his path changed. The line between political influence and street power began to blur. Rehman started building connections within Lyari's underground networks. Over time, he gathered loyal supporters and formed his own group. What started as small influence slowly turned into something much bigger. As his presence grew, so did his reputation. Lyari began to change. The same streets that once echoed with everyday life now started witnessing rising tension. Gang rivalries intensified, and control over territory became a serious matter. Rehman Dakait was no longer just a local figure. He was becoming a dominant force. People in Lyari had mixed opinions about. For some, he was a protector, someone who stood up for the community when no one else did. For others, he was a symbol of fear, responsible for violence and instability. This dual image made him even more powerful. Rehman understood something very clearly. Controlling people's perception was just as important as controlling territory. He built a network that allowed him to influence not just the streets, but also local dynamics. His name carried weight. In many situations, just mentioning him was enough to change outcomes. Law enforcement agencies were aware of his growing power, but taking action was not easy. Lyari's narrow streets, combined with strong local support, made operations difficult. Rehman Dakait seemed almost untouchable. But behind this rise to power was a darker reality. Violence slowly became part of daily life in Lyari. Clashes between rival groups led to loss of innocent lives. Fear spread among residents. What was once a culturally rich area, known for its vibrant community and talent, especially in sports like football, began to gain a different reputation. The situation eventually reached a point where authorities could no longer ignore it. Rehman Dakait was now officially declared one of the most wanted men in Pakistan. The government began planning stronger actions to regain control of the area. Pressure started building from all sides. Despite this, Rehman continued to operate with confidence. His network was still strong, and his influence remained intact. For a while, it seemed like his control would never end. But every rise has a turning point. In 2009, the story took a dramatic shift. In a police encounter, Rehman Dakait was killed. The news spread quickly, not just in Lyari, but across the entire country. For many, it marked the end of a powerful and controversial figure. For others, it was just the beginning of a new phase. Because his death did not immediately end the violence. The network he built did not disappear overnight. Other individuals stepped forward to fill the gap. The cycle of power and conflict continued, proving that the issue was much deeper than just one person. Today, Lyari is slowly trying to rebuild its identity. Efforts have been made to restore peace and bring back stability. The streets that once lived under constant fear are gradually returning to normal life. But every rise has a turning point. In 2009, the story took a dramatic shift. In a police encounter, Rehman Dakait was killed. The news spread quickly, not just in Lyari, but across the entire country. For many, it marked the end of a powerful and controversial figure. For others, it was just the beginning of a new phase. Because his death did not immediately end the violence. The network he built did not disappear overnight. Other individuals stepped forward to fill the gap. The cycle of power and conflict continued, proving that the issue was much deeper than just one person. Today, Lyari is slowly trying to rebuild its identity. Efforts have been made to restore peace and bring back stability. The streets that once lived under constant fear are gradually returning to normal life. But the story of Rehman Dakait still lives on. It remains a powerful example of how environment, circumstances, and choices can shape a person's journey. It raises important questions about society, opportunity, and the systems that influence individuals. Was he simply a criminal who chose a violent path? Or was he a product of the environment he grew up in? There is no simple answer. What is clear, however, is that his story left a lasting impact on Lyari and on Karachi as a whole. Even today, when people talk about the past of Lyari, his name is often part of the conversation, not just as a figure of crime, but as a symbol of a complex reality, where power, politics, and survival are deeply connected. In the end, Rehman Dakait's story is not just about one man. It is about a place, a time, and the conditions that can shape extraordinary and sometimes dangerous lives. And that is why Lyari will never forget him.